Guys, so Euro summer is finally over and Q4 has started. Everybody and their mom wants to start an info product, sell an info product at scale to 100K a month in profit or above. And that's why I thought now would be a perfect time to actually make a video about how I'm competing in the current info product market to sell info products, which is one of my favorite topics to speak about. Now, just a bit of credibility before we jump into it, because I know you're not going to listen to me unless I actually give this to you. We run a portfolio of info products at my agency. We run info products that are smaller. We run info products that do $50,000 to $100,000 a week in cash collected. So there is quite a variety. And obviously, I sell my own info products through this channel, which has like 3 point something thousand subscribers, and I've made roughly $400,000 in profit off of deals that have come through this channel. So hopefully that can kind of show you that I know how to monetize off of audiences with info products, how to run info products, how to sell info products, everything like that, right? I don't want to do too much speaking. I just want to jump straight into it. Now, before we actually go through this, it's important that you watch through the end because it all kind of connects with each other. We go through ICP and then the ICP goes directly into the funnel. And I also have some really cool AI stuff that we're doing with Claude right now, which I want to break down for you guys. It's super fun, super interesting. And I've really just spent the past few hours going step by step. So it's as easy as possible for you to digest. So block out the distractions, get a pen and paper, and let's get into it. So first off, for those of you who don't quite understand the opportunity inside of info products yet, I'll just explain it to you real quick. So info products fall into the category of the e-learning market, and the e-learning market was worth over $210 billion back in 2021 and is now projected to be worth over $840 billion by 2030, which essentially just means that it's growing at a CAGR of 17.5%. Oh, my Wi-Fi literally just disconnected. But yeah, that means that it's growing at a CAGR of 17.5%, and obviously presents a massive opportunity for a bunch of different industries within the e-learning category, which one of which, and probably the biggest category within it, is info sellers, right? So from the outsider perspective, what does this actually mean for you? Because from everybody else looking at the e-learning market competition right now, the people selling it, obviously, the amount of people that are selling it right now is increasing, but luckily the demand is also increasing year over year. But from the outsider perspective, it just looks like there's more competition every day, less trust within the market. Everybody needs to be more and more convincing, and everybody needs to get better and better at marketing if they want to stay in the market and not fall out of the competition. So for a lot of people, it seems almost impossible to compete within this market. But a lot of people overcomplicate it, and it's actually pretty simple. So the biggest thing here, especially if you're newer or your info product does less than 100K a month, you really don't need to reinvent the wheel and try to create some brand new marketing strategy that's going to convince a bunch of people or whatever it could be. You don't need to create this brand new shiny info product with a brand new funnel that nobody's ever seen before and this brand new way of posting content or whatever it could be. You really don't. It's really, really simple. All you need to do is find a list of 5 people who you really like. And I call this the Dream 5 list. So find a list of 5 creators who you really like, who are already doing what you want to do with info products. 5 creators in your niche, and you need to ask yourself 3 questions. Who do I want to be similar to? What do I want to avoid? And what do I want my audience to associate me with? And once you know these 3 things, you're going to write them down. Okay, just stay with me. You can even pause the video, write these 3 things down about your industry. So for example, if you do drop shipping and you want to sell an info product, let's say a mentorship around drop shipping, write these 3 things down. And now what you're going to do is you're going to do this with every single creator. And then you're going to find things that you like about them. And all of these small things that you like, once you have them written down on paper, you're going to put them into your own brand identity. And this is going to be your brand identity. So for example, with the dropshipping niche, who do I want to be similar to? Find 5 people and figure these things out. This is extremely important. Now, you also want to ask yourself the question, what do you want to avoid? Is it a get-rich-quick lifestyle? Is it making videos like this, for example? Maybe you don't want to make boring videos. Maybe you want to make videos buying a Lamborghini or whatever it could be. Or maybe you don't want to make videos buying a Lamborghini because you think it's too flashy. Really depends on the type of person that you are. And then what do you want your audience to actually associate you with? Do you want your audience to associate you with, let's say, for example, just going back to the dropshipping example, building profitable stores, being honest, being clean, minimal, sharp? Or it could be, do you want them to associate you with a flashy lifestyle? Whatever it could be, it's different for everybody. There's no right or wrong answer, but you need to figure these things out for yourself. And with this, you're going to build your total brand identity. Now, real quick, before we move on, obviously we have the brand identity now. Now we get into the parts that are actually going to make you some money. With these parts, it does get a little bit more complex. Not to worry though, not that complex. You'll understand it by the end of the video. But all of the diagrams that I go through, all of the AI prompts, all of that kind of stuff, every single video, people ask me, they're like, where can I find this stuff? I finally made a page, first link in the description. You can click on it, and on that page, you can get access to all the prompts, diagrams, Miro boards, everything. It's first link in the description. You can get it now, or you can get it at the end of the video, and then we'll pretty much be good. So now that you have total brand identity, you need to figure out who your ICP is. And this is your ideal client profile. Now, about your ideal client profile, you need to figure out what is their desired outcome? What's their current situation? What are their problems? What's the gap? How do you bridge that gap? And I know you can do this with AI, and we're going to get into that in a second. But all of these things, it's not just these things, these are just a few examples. Write them down on a piece of paper, just off the top of your head. Don't look at anybody else. Don't go on ChatGPT. Off the top of your head, figure out what are these 10 things, or it's probably a little bit more than 10 things about your audience. And then you need to figure out what establishes you as a brand. Use the brand identity again. Don't use ChatGPT yet. We're going to get into that. But do it on a piece of paper. What's your hero's journey? What are your main stories that you want to share with your audience? Values and beliefs, personality, content topics, etc., etc., etc. Figure these things out with a blank piece of paper. Once you've done this, you're going to move on to the AI part. But you need to do the AI part after you've done it yourself. So we're going to go on to Claude or ChatGPT, but for this example specifically, we're using Claude. ChatGPT is better with numbers and that type of stuff, and Claude is really just better with copywriting and general text, that kind of stuff. So that's why we're using Claude for this example. So again, the reason we're doing this is just to add an extra, you can kind of call it, if you maybe missed something while you were doing your own research on a blank piece of paper, you can just use ChatGPT to fill the blanks. A lot of people think that it is inaccurate, but it usually only is inaccurate if you're like, do market research so I can sell trading mentorships, right? If you write something like that, obviously it's not going to work well. Now my Wi-Fi is crashing a little bit. But yeah, if I say, for example, do market research so I can sell trading mentorships, obviously like it's not going to give us that good of a response, or the response that we're looking for our situation specifically. But that's because you're doing it the wrong way. If you do it the right way and you have proper prompt engineering, which is what we're going to get into, you can do some amazing stuff with AI. So we're going to use this for the offer, the market research, and the product. And we can do all of this within 1 to 2 hours with a few simple prompts. Now, the important thing is, before we actually get started on this, on your Claude app, make sure that research mode is on, web search mode is on, and extended thinking is on, because these 3 things are going to make our responses 10 times better. So starting off with the market research, we're going to go onto Claude, and we're going to ask Claude, I want to do some market research for me. I am selling product description, and I want you to find all of the possible customer avatars for my product and explain how my product will help me reach their desired outcome. And then once that's typed in, and once you get the answer for that, you're going to say, now that you have all of the customer avatars, answer these questions about all of them in detail, clear, and simple language. And here we're just going to be going over the goals and dreams, fears and insecurities, embarrassing situations they want to avoid, how the product actually helps them, etc., etc., etc. You have the prompts right here. Take this prompt. It's going to be in the diagram too. If you go into that funnel that I was speaking about earlier to opt in, get those diagrams and everything, copy and paste this and use this for your initial market research. And obviously this isn't everything. To make sure that you gather all of the correct information about your ICP, you have to copy your competitors' transcripts. So for example, if you go through their VSLs, you can take the transcripts of their VSLs, put them in and get more market research on that. But obviously you want to be using competitor research too. So for example, if we're doing competitor research, you can tell Claude, based on everything in the project knowledge, I want you to do something. I want you to do some competitive research. Please be as detailed as possible and as specific as possible. Now, the important thing here, if you actually want this to be done properly, is you need to make sure that these three features right here are on. So once you have the market research, you would have had the stuff that Claude said, you would have the competitor research, and you would have also had the research that you've done yourself. After that, you need to move on to building the offer and product. And in the same chat, as the market research, you want to use this prompt. So use what you know so far from what I provided and create me an offer outline for my high ticket product. And then based on the outline, you're going to figure out transformative statement, program investment, core program deliverables, potential bonuses, live support and community, risk reversal and guarantee. And of course, you do need to make some changes to your liking quality to check to see if everything's good to go. But this is going to give you the fundamentals on the offer that you're going to sell. You want to make sure that you don't overcomplicate this, especially when you're starting. You just need some kind of offer to start out, and you don't overcomplicate the market research, because at the end of the day, the market research is strictly for you. Nobody else is reading this. You're not using this inside of your marketing materials. It's simply for you to actually understand your market when you're writing the VSL, when you're creating the YouTube videos, when you're making the Instagram videos, etc., etc., etc. So once this is done and once you've nailed those things down, it's time to actually build a product and offer. And your offer needs to have at least 5 parts to it. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to sell. You need a quantifiable end result, time frame, niche, risk reversal, and unique mechanism. So this usually consists of, obviously, like I was saying, the offer statement. So the offer statement is the final result or transformation that your offer has to be quantifiable. The progress that leads to the final outcome should be easy to track. Then we have the time frame. The time frame is the time frame to achieve the outcome, is one of the main things that people are looking for. The niche, be specific to who you're selling to. You know how to talk to only a certain people, target them, and obviously quality over quantity. Risk reversal, this is where you have to take the risk off them and onto you. You have to make them offer too good to not buy. One that I really like to use, so that there's no contracts or anything too fancy: work for free until you achieve X result. And obviously that doesn't mean you do a weekly call with them until they do. It could just be keeping up tech support. And unique mechanism, this is what's actually going to make you stand out of the market. For example, with the old way, people that would do unique mechanisms would be no more giving up your favorite foods, starving yourself, or having to count every single calorie and work out until you're exhausted. And your new unique mechanism would be, for example, the time saver workout protocol that shows you how to build muscle, lose fat, be healthy without giving up your favorite foods, while only doing body weight exercises. But to put all of this simply, I know it may be a little bit much if you're just starting out. We have the top, which is make the dream outcome better and as easy as possible for them to actually get there. And then we have the bottom, get them to get the result as soon as possible without a lot of effort and sacrifice, right? Now, all of this is going to lead up into the offer statement. So based on everything that you get here, based on all of the data that you collect and everything that you write down, whether you do it yourself or you do it with AI, ideally you did both, you're going to make one statement. And the statement is going to be, I help niche do goal/final result in time frame while using the unique mechanism that you have without pain point and risk reversal. So for example, if we're going back to the fitness offer that we done as an example before this, I help busy professionals lose 15 to 20 pounds in 90 days using a time saver workout protocol without giving up their favorite foods or spending hours in the gym, or I work for free until we do, right? Once you have this offer statement, you need to create the product itself. Now, the main thing here in the main agenda is the easier, the more effortless, and the more enjoyable you make this journey, the more likely they are to become your clients and stick until they succeed. So the more success your program will yield, the more you're going to make, essentially. Now, there's different types of offers when it comes to selling info products. You have low ticket offers and you have high ticket offers. Now, I heavily recommend starting with high ticket offers when you're smaller and you have millions of subscribers. Obviously, you can do low ticket offers, but for the sake of this video, for you to actually understand everything moving forward, I'm going to go through both. So starting with the low ticket offers, there's a few different types of ways to actually do this. We have ebooks, guides, and other resources, and we have course material. For the ebooks, these are typically $1 to $50, just simply going over the topic, guides, and other stuff along with those lines, $50 to $500. And then we have courses, which are $500 to $2,000. And then we have, which is simple, like it's just modules, resources, systems done for you, elements. It's course is a course, right? You guys know what that is. High ticket is where I ideally want you guys to start off with. So there's 3 different things that you do, and it doesn't really matter which one you do. It's still going to affect your sales a crazy amount, just the way that you prefer to deliver. So with group coaching, typically $2,000 to $3,000, monthly group call schedule, course, community structure, 24/7 access to you, and host challenge to encourage people not to slack. Then we have one-on-one coaching for $3,000 to $5,000, 6, 12, 18 one-on-one calls over 60 to 90 days. This is for you to decide what your hour is worth, and then obviously putting that into a price. Monthly group call schedule, course, community, and host challenges inside of it. And the third option is the mastermind, very high ticket, high level people in real life places sometimes, for the events, networking, and secret very high value, right? So this can be $5,000 up to $500,000 as an example. So this is the highest ticket. Then obviously one-on-one coaching, this is what you can really charge the most money for. Obviously you can charge more than $5,000 for one-on-one coaching. Just the typical one-on-one coaching program is $3,000 to $5,000. And the group coaching program, which is pretty simple, for $2,000 to $3,000 is the most scalable, because you can pretty much take on unlimited people into your program. And to actually run all of these operations, I recommend using, for the courses and challenges, WOP. School, in my opinion, WOP is better for payment processing, and School is better to actually host a community. They have a nicer UI and everything. And communication, Discord, or Slack, or wherever you really prefer, doesn't matter too much. And then for calls, you can use Google Meet or Zoom. Now, real quick, one thing that I did actually forget to mention is, if you're starting out, I heavily recommend starting with group coaching. Once you maxed out the amount of money you can make with group coaching, or if you just from the jump don't have enough time to do one-on-one coaching, I recommend going to group coaching after that. And then once you've maxed out one-on-one coaching, group coaching, moving over to more of a mastermind type of thing. But don't start with mastermind, start with one-on-one coaching, move over to group coaching once that's too much, and then go to more of a mastermind type of thing. So at this point, we've created your product. You know what you're going to sell to your ICP. You have your brand identity, and you have your offer dialed in. But now you need a funnel to sell this entire thing. You have the product, it's cool. But if nobody knows what you're selling, and if nobody knows how to buy it, how are they supposed to buy it, right? It really comes down to that. It's as simple as that. I don't need to say anything too crazy here. So if you don't know what a funnel is, and how it works, let me just explain it to you pretty simply. We start with attention, and then we're going to funnel them down into other content assets, or a different landing page, or just doing something in general to nurture them. And then we need a mechanism to close them after they've been nurtured. But first, we need to get attention. Then we need to nurture that attention. And then we need to close that attention. And they're essentially moving down a funnel. And a sales funnel is a step-by-step journey your customers goes on to not knowing your product exists, to pulling out their wallet and buying from you again and again and again. And it's a process that a potential client goes through before they buy your product or service. A funnel essentially gets you from someone who doesn't know who you are, doesn't know what you sell, doesn't know what you do, to trusting you, knowing you're legit, and buying your product. And everybody that you see online, whether you realize it or not, and the best, whether you realize it or not, they're all using funnels to actually get you and sell you and do whatever they're trying to do on the internet. And the best, fastest, and most reliable way to do this and figure out what your competition is doing is by funnel hacking other people. And this is what I've done countless times. If you go into my YouTube channel, you'd know this, right? Funnel hacking is essentially studying your direct competitors' marketing strategies and using those insights to propel your own business. So by taking bits of pieces of successful parts of your competitors' funnels, it's almost guaranteed to work. And this is what I was speaking about by not having to reinvent the wheel. See, what takes work and inspiration is like the inspiration is the longest part of the process, and just doing the work and actually implementing that stuff is the easiest part, really. So by taking bits and pieces of the successful parts of your competitors' funnels, it's almost guaranteed to work. So let's say, for example, we have two people right here. This is Nathan Nazarov and this is Jordan Bound. We're going to take parts of their funnels. Let's say for Nathan Nazarov's funnel, we really like the kind of content he's doing and how he's getting attention. And for Jordan Bound's funnel, we really like the kind of funnel that he's using to actually convert people and to nurture people. We're going to take both of these funnels, take specific parts that we like from each competitor, put them into our own, obviously not copy the competitors, but tweak the things, make it into our own funnel. And that's how we're going to have our conversion mechanism pretty quickly. So for example, you're going to go from traffic to a VSL page. They watch the VSL, they apply the application form, book a call, they have reminders, and then they have a sales call. This is the typical book a call funnel, and it's the most common funnel that you're going to encounter within info. And then we also have an example of the value ladder. So we go from least value to most value, right? They start with just watching the viral content on Instagram. They go to the educational content on YouTube. They start watching the lead magnets. They buy a low ticket offer. They buy a core offer, and then they buy a high ticket offer. Now, this usually works best when you have a super large audience. I don't recommend doing too big of a value ladder. The biggest thing that I recommend is just running a very simple book a call funnel, which we're about to get into. But the important thing for you to understand is that not all funnels work the same way. You need to pick the right funnels for your specific situation. So for example, low ticket in some situations generates a lot less money than high ticket. And in some situations, low tickets perform a lot better. But you need a completely different funnel in different situations. And building out the funnel, especially if you're completely new to info, is quite the challenge. You're not going to build your first funnel and instantly make a lot of money with a flawless process and zero error. It's simply not realistic. And it's also very risky as well. Here are some of the skills that you need to master building a successful funnel. For example, this could be offer creation, copywriting, storytelling, landing page design, paid ads management, email marketing, analytics and funnel optimization, sales psychology, etc., etc., etc. And you're not going to build your first funnel and instantly make a lot of money with a flawless process and zero error. That's simply not how it works, because there's so many things that you need to build out. And it's going to need a ton of time for you to nail, right? You're not going to do it in your first try. And it's likely that you can just neglect some stuff from other points that I just listed above. You need 98% of it so that it actually can work with Claude and ChatGPT. And by giving you the right prompts to Claude and ChatGPT, you can make a funnel that makes you money without any bottlenecks, objections, or making it seem low quality. But now comes the part where the actual sales happen. They've gone through the funnel so far, right? They've, gone through this process. For example, if we built something like this out, they've gone through the traffic, the VSL page, they watched the VSL, applied on the form, booked a call, and now we need to actually convert them from that point on. So there's two types of sales reps that we have inside of our sales management system. We have the dialers and the appointment setters, and then we have the closers. And it's extremely important that you understand what every single person from this process does. So the dialer is pretty simple. We have the influencer. They probably watch a video of the influencer. They're going to give their phone number, for example, and then after they opt in, the dialer is simply the person who calls them up and gets them to book in a call if they didn't book directly from the video sales letter. And then we have the DM setter who, for example, you see an Instagram story and they're like, swipe up on my story with start to get more info about my mentorship program. And the DM setter is simply going to be the guy who's inside of the messages going through a framework to get them to slowly convert into buyers. And then the final person that we have, and the most important person, the person who gets paid the most amount of money, is the closer. After the setter book these calls onto a calendar, it's a closer's job to actually close the deal from there. And when the call is scheduled, appointment arrives at the sales rep, tries to close the payment and collect payment on usually a Zoom call. Now, the closer collects a fee of all of the deals closed. Usually this is 10%. So if he closes a $5,000 deal, he gets 10% of that and gets paid $500. And he's the guy who actually sells them on the call, right? So now that you understand this, let me go through the framework and exactly how these people are put into this process. So after they book the call, the goal is to make sure that the prospect is qualified, educated about our product and our story, and shows up to the call ready to buy. For example, with reminders via SMS, email, and DMs. Now, there's different time frames that you can use for this. We have immediate time frames, 24 hours before, 6 hours before, 1 hour before, and 5 minutes before. I recommend if you're starting out and you're doing a business to customer offer, B2C, just using all of them. Then you need to figure out what are the touch points. Is it like what platforms are you reaching out to them from? The more, the better. Are you dialing them, messaging them? Are you messaging them on different platforms? WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, etc. And just warming up the prospects and figuring out what the workflows are if they don't show up and if they do show up, right? Once you have this kind of back-end sales stuff in place, you need to build out the sales call framework. And this is where the prospect actually connects with you or one of your closers. Now, if you mess this up, you'll have a bad closing rate and a bad reputation as a creator, and you'll also be broke because you're not going to be making much money from those sales calls. So the prospect, they're pretty much going to figure out where they currently are at, widen the gap as much as possible to frame your product as the only logical solution for them to buy. And then the goal is going to be where they want to be and essentially getting into your program. Now, the sales call framework is pretty simple for your closer to use. He's going to do discovery, pre-handle the objections, ideal criteria, future pacing and vacation, cost of inaction, urgency, widen the gap, pitch them, buy-in/commitment, drop the price, and handle objections. Now, the place where most people fail in the sales process, and arguably the most important part, is tracking the metrics, because closing the deal, if they're coming from organic content, isn't that hard of a task. But tracking your metrics to make sure you're getting as many calls in as possible is. So how are you supposed to run a profitable digital product business if you don't know if you don't know which KPIs and key performance indicators you need to actually improve to know that every single call is taken advantage of? And the easiest way to do it is having a tracking sheet like this, which we use for all of our clients, for example, when tracking every single metric within the sales process. How many calls are booked, the closing rate, the show up rate, average order value, funnel conversions, CTR, the amount of dials made, the follow-ups made, etc., etc., etc. And taking all of this, seeing the numbers and everything, and when you want to actually improve parts in your process, you always start with the lowest number, the lowest metric, the lowest hanging fruit, and instantly start working on that so that you can bring everything to a base level. And the main goal here is to get as many qualified calls in as possible with over a 30 to 40% close rate so that you don't waste any leads and build trust on the call. And that's essentially how you build a pretty simple funnel with AI. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I need help setting this up for my coaching business, I kind of see the funnel, I kind of know what to do, but I don't know exactly how to do it. I want it done for you, and I don't know how to get traffic to begin with. Like, I literally don't know how I'm going to get people in. Obviously, you kind of need to post YouTube videos, do Instagram Reels, but you want the best guidance. You want to fast track your process there because it's going to take a bunch of time and precision, and you don't want to spend 12 months waiting. I work with a small group of coaches one-on-one where we build out their entire funnel and sales system. So all they need to do is create content, and we give them the proper guidance and systems when trying to create content. Now, if you want to see if you're a good fit for this, the link is in the description, and you can simply apply to the Calendly. Going to be a simple link. I'm going to be like, work with me, and then you can go into here and it'll be a one-on-one call with me. See you on the call if you're interested in that. And other than that, I have a bunch more resources on my channel. Peace.